So let's get some gloves on, start moving these things. Plan for the ramp. We're going to do the top section first. I had to modify the math a little, which is right here. Well, it's hard to do in my brain. The wood turned out to be just ever so slightly shorter than the 3 5/8, so 1/16 shorter, so it has an effect on the slope. And I want to try and keep the slope constant, so I have to change the math a bit. I've got a gauge that works with my circular saw, so I can just set it on the line, fasten this down, and then I can cut it. So I've got it marked out on both sides. The circular saw is only going to cut halfway through, but we'll see how far we can get. Then we've got to flip it over and do the other side. Right, so we've got this piece of wood is marked up. We've got 14 inches from one end. We've got the slope line drawn on the side. This is the way we want to cut this one on the short side. And hopefully I can get the blade in vertical. We've got the gauge set. We've got a supporting piece of wood in. It's clamped. And we've got two pieces of wood clamped together with a big vise over there. So hopefully I can cut down here with the circular saw. Hopefully get a vertical cut. That's going to be quite tricky. And it will come out this end, and it will cut down maybe halfway through if we're lucky. So, are you ready to cut? Yep, just checking. You can see it over here. I'm getting it on this vertical line, which is really hard to do. So I don't have much of this on the wood. So if I can keep it vertical, I'll be good. Let's keep going. Okay, not looking too bad. Looks like we're going to have, by the time we get the cut on the other side, there's going to be quite a bit hand cut through the middle. That'll be fun. So we've got the two cuts with the circular saw done. It's cut as far as it can. Now we've got to finish it by hand. Yeah, this is the part I've been looking forward to. There's about, it's about 1.5 inches of wood to cut for that long. We have 2 ramps for each side. I did go ahead and make a ramp on the other side, and I've done some trimming of the wood to get some of the cut marks off. When you make a saw cut from both sides, you end up with some rough cuts. I've been using my Surform pieces. There's a short single-handed one. It does a nice job of trimming some of the areas that were bulging and stuff. It's always handy to have a helper. I didn't have one when I was doing this, so I ended up putting a cut on the wrong side. Idiot. And this is it, trailing down here. But this stuff's all going to be in compression, so I think it's going to be okay to do that. So with the plan, the planned length was 32 1/8 for the top piece, so that was going to be the straight length on here. I had to modify that to 31 3/4 and 32 based on the length of those pieces. I also measured the pieces of wood for width, and 5 5/8 is the planned width. One of them is 5 9/16, so I had to modify that a bit. That changes the slope length, this 28 1/8 here. So because of adjusting for this 32, I'm down to 32 and 31 3/4 instead of 32 1/8 the planned. So I'm modifying that, modifying the height of the slope. So I've got to keep the slope the same. The slope is 5 times the height to give me the slope of 0.2. So that adjusts at various lengths. So now I've got to make 27 and 13/16 and the 32 inch from here. and 31 3/4 from here, and then adding this other 28 1/8. So I've got these two numbers to measure out. Okay, so this is the log for number 2. This is going to be a match set. Very slight difference between them, hardly anything. But the intent is I'm measuring out 32 inches. You see the pencil line across here. And then 59 and 13/16, which is this pencil line here, right on this 5-foot mark. Now I'll draw a diagonal, and that's going to be my slope. Okay, got the straight edge now clamped in 2 positions. I've checked that the gauge is right on the line. Follows the line all the way up. So now I'm ready to cut. But when I make this second cut on this side, it's going to cut the piece in half, so it's got to fall somewhere. So I'm controlling how the part is falling. So we'll get on this. Again, I've got it set up so that I am cutting the right way. I'm checking. There's the other cut. Got the other cut on the other side. Got the gauge in. And again, it's going to cut on this side of the line. So I'll just set up, cut, and go. Actually, it's a good job I checked that. I was going to be cutting on the wrong side of the line. So what I have to do is I've got to add 1/10 of an inch that I've already got set up on here, which is the width of the saw cut. So I'm going to add that 1/10 of an inch to the gauge. So now I go to the pencil line, to the gauge. So I have to move it over a bit more, because I want the saw to cut on the opposite side of the line, now that I'm on the opposite side of the piece of wood. Alright, so you can probably just make out the pencil line. So here's my depth gauge, so I've got it set up, so it should cut the other side of the line, and I'll check that when we make the starting cut. Alright, so here is the cut, and yes, I am cutting on the other side of that pencil line. It doesn't quite match up, but it's pretty darn close. And I don't think I want to adjust it because I am on that line. Right, to the old workmate. Let's go. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I've got both the long ramps and one of the short ramps on top. Got the straight edge on there. And I know at the back end, this piece is a lot longer than the others, but I'm checking the alignment of these ends to make sure that I can actually put this piece of plywood on top. So I'm using my straight edge here to see how well aligned these pieces are. This bit where I cut, this is warping nicely, but I think it's going to be close enough when we get the plywood on. I can come back and dress this bit down too. So here's the bits of wood just standing up. This is roughly how they're going to fit together. And these are going to be the skeleton support for the ramps. Right, going to do some glue testing today using these offcuts. As I will be gluing and screwing, I want to see how effective it is if the glue is going to work on this brown surface as well as it does on a regular wooden surface. Get some glue on here. Get some glue on here. I'll spread it. Right, stick one on here. I'll stick one on there. And clamp. Right, this is about 2 hours into the glue test. It said leave it for 30 minutes, 24 hours overnight. Well, I'm not doing that. I want to see if the glue is setting. So, unclamp. And initially it's stuck on both sides. So let's see if I can peel it off. It's taking quite a bit of force. And it's taking quite a bit of force too. So it kind of looks like the glue is working. Let's see which one's going to snap off first. So this is 2 hours in. Yeah, that took quite a bit of force. Contact area. So it wasn't complete contact area either. But that's pretty darn good. So 24 hours, I'm sure it would set up nicely. Right, let's see if we can try this one. Yeah, I'm not getting that one. So, not easily. So I'm saying that glue's going to work on the brown surface. I don't need to sand it off.